What's up, everyone? My name's Adam McDormand, and this is Medium Quality. Alright, we are going back in time again this episode. I'm going to show you my very favorite album of all time, Close to the Edge by Yes. I know I've talked about this album briefly in the past when I posted a series of YouTube videos about my Yes collection, which was mostly compact discs back when I had those. But I sold most of those before I moved out to Arizona. And beside that, I never really gave this album a proper review. So I'm going to talk about it at length now. Prepare yourself. Seriously. This album has 3 songs. That's it. 3 songs. The first track, Close to the Edge, is this 19-minute epic divided into 4 movements. So it takes up one entire side of the album. And believe me, this song is a wild ride. It may start out with some very calm nature sounds, wind chimes and birds tweeting and like a river type thing. But then it kicks in with this blistering melodic attack from the guitar and bass that feature time signatures that are so mind-bending that I still can't wrap my mind around them. And I've probably listened to this album 100 times or more. Now, at about the 3-minute mark, the song finally chills out a little bit and settles into this groove that's really only in the song for about a minute. And then the song starts swinging back and forth between this really chaotic verse that's dominated by an electric sitar and some really punchy bass guitar work, and then this much simpler chorus melody. And both of those parts develop as the song progresses into the second movement, building and becoming more and more aggressive until the end of that movement. That's where the lyrics of this song are introduced. And it's important to note that Jon Anderson's lyrics on this album, and pretty much every early Yes album, are meant more to create a mood than to convey actual literal or figurative meaning. Then, as the third movement introduces itself, all of the instrumentation gets stripped away, except for some very light organ melodies and some very ethereal vocal tracks that are kind of stacked on top of each other. It's the first real moment of musical peace that you get in the album, and actually the last as well, because at the 12-minute mark, this pipe organ just slams into the song, and it's big, and it's loud, and it's sinister sounding. And if you're not ready for it, it's a little unnerving, but it keeps building and building until the song progresses into the fourth movement. And there the intensity gives way a little bit, but only very, very slightly, because it just falls back into this chaos from the first movement of the song, only kind of in reverse. And from there, the song very gradually settles down and fades back into some very calming sounds like the first movement. So it ends very much like it begins. And that's Close to the Edge. Side B kicks off with And You and I, which is a much shorter song, clocking in at about 10 minutes or so. And because it's structured so similarly to Close to the Edge, I kind of think of it as a friendlier, more pastoral take on the musical ideas that are present in that first track. To be honest, this song has some of my very favorite Jon Anderson nonsense lyrics. And I really go back and forth between calling And You and I my favorite or Close to the Edge. I mean, it changes. They're both such great songs. But the final song, Siberian Khatru, is also really fantastic, but tends to be more overlooked than the other 2 songs because they're both so very epic. It's the closest thing to a straightforward rock and roll song that you're going to get on this album. And actually, the song has some of my favorite and best examples of Steve Howe's really distinctive guitar work. He's extraordinarily technical, and his guitar tone is so bright, almost to the point of being twangy. And he manages to put all of that together into these really oddly timed guitar melodies and blistering guitar solos that sound paradoxically both precise and somehow untamed at the same time. It's really extraordinary, and it's why Steve Howe, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated guitar players. In my opinion, all 3 tracks on this album are close to perfect. And working as a whole, this album is pretty much a masterpiece. It features this really wide, dynamic, and detailed soundstage, but remains thick and heavy on the low end. It's such an extraordinary album. That's the reason that I have 3 copies of it on vinyl. This one's actually the very first vinyl record that I ever purchased. I must have gotten it around 2010, maybe even earlier, so it was years before people started buying vinyl records again. I managed to pick it up for about $4 at a used bookstore with the intention of hanging it up on the wall because it's my favorite album. So I really had no intention of even playing this. But I did, and it's a really solid copy of the album. It's got the gorgeous Roger Dean landscape there. Such a great artist. And of course, your very classic black vinyl. No surprises there. Solid pressing, sounds good. Excellent album. I got this second copy for Christmas last year because I was looking for a really nice playing reissue of the album. And a lot of people were saying that this 2012 reissue is a good one. It claims to be cut from the original master tapes with more care than ever. And it's actually a really good copy of the album. If you want a copy that sounds clean, plays well, I really recommend this particular reissue, which you can probably get for $20 or less. The packaging on this is fairly close to the original. Same amazing Roger Dean album artwork there. And this one actually has the handwritten lyrics sheet on the inner sleeve, which is pretty cool. And the classic black vinyl with the 3-color Atlantic label there, which I think is really cool. In fact, it's what the artwork on this show is modeled after. And this is my most recent copy of the album. This is the Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab reissue from 1982. Now, this is something that I've been looking for quite a while because basically every Mo-Fi press of any album is going to be amazing. Original master recordings are exclusively transferred from the original stereo master tapes that the musicians recorded in the studio, not a second or third or fourth generation copy of that master tape. That's amazing. Original master recordings employ Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab's exclusive half-speed mastering process to capture every nuance of sound from that master tape. Wow! We strictly limit the number of pressings we allow of each master recording. These limited editions, besides becoming collector's items, assure you that the quality of the last pressing matches the quality of the first. That's special. Original master recordings are pressed overseas, utilizing supervinyl, an exclusive compound for far superior to even so-called 100% virgin vinyl for maximum clarity and startling quietness. That's extraordinary. Anyway, a friend of mine managed to find a copy of this for $50, which is a steal for this because it's really rare. It's been out of print basically since they issued it in 1982, and I've been looking for it for a long time, so I was really pumped to get it for that price. So I snagged it, and it's a really clean copy of the album. So between the 2012 reissue and this 1982 Mo-Fi issue of the album, I really can't hear much of a difference, which either says that I physically don't possess the capacity to hear the differences between the two, or my system is not good enough to even project whatever differences might exist between these two pressings, or they're both just really, really nice pressings of the album, and I tend to think it's probably the latter. So if you're looking for a good copy of the album, this 2012 reissue is a solid buy. I'll be sure to put a link to each of these specific presses' Discogs page in the description below so you can see all the details and what makes each of these different. Anyway, I'm going to need to stop talking about this album eventually. It's so good. Do yourself a favor. Check it out. Close to the Edge by Yes. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed it and subscribe if you want to see more. Look forward to the B-side, which will drop as a separate episode next week. What a time to be alive.